This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Ever wonder about the stories of the women around you?
We wanted to create an intentional space for women to share the wisdom they have gained through life experiences.
Tune in to be in awe of some of the Wonder Women in our midst. Wondering Women on OAR FM Dunedin.
Kia ora everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Wondering Women. I am your host today, Amy Armstrong, and it is my pleasure to welcome Lucy Matehaere to our program today. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's cool to have you. And Lucy's an amazing young woman who I knew years ago when she was at Otago in Dunedin, and she's had some amazing adventures since I knew you down here, and one of them going to the Olympics that I want to talk to you about today. But I'm sure there's much more to your life. So do you want to just give us a little introduction to yourself, Lucy?
Yeah, sure. It's been, I think, almost 8 years since I was at high school at Otago Girls, and I moved up to Auckland from Dunedin in 2020, just before COVID. Otherwise, I was born and bred in Dunedin and grew up doing surf lifesaving and basketball before getting into kayaking, which is the sport that I do now. And so I'm not quite yet a Jaffa, that's for sure, but definitely not an Aucklander yet. But yeah, just it's been cool to look back on the journey that's got me to this point and all the incredible experiences that I've got to have through sport.
Yeah, awesome. Because you are a very sporty woman, and you come from a sporty family, and so you've landed on kayaking as your main sport, haven't you, in the end? So
Yeah.
how did you get into kayaking?
There are a few factors that influence me. Firstly, I was doing surf lifesaving at the time, so I started that when I was about 5 or 6, and when you're about 15 years old, under 16 age group, you can start doing surf ski, which is similar to kayaking. And then obviously Dame Lucy Carrington had just recently won the Olympics in 2012. So my parents or my mum said, oh look, she came from surf lifesaving, she started kayaking, and then she won Olympic gold. And then I recall complaining to my dad at Surf Nationals that, like, how are these girls so fast? Like, why can't I'm trying so hard and I can't even get close. And he said they kayak over winter. But I think at that point in my life, at 15 years old, I was looking for a sport that could take me to the top level. And surf lifesaving is not an Olympic sport. And basketball, I wasn't quite clear that that was going to be a pathway for me. So I really wanted a sport that basically gave me the pathway, as well as you could put in the hard work and see the results and the outcomes. So I think something about kayaking is that it can be, I would say, data oriented, but what you put in, you get out quite clearly. So being able to monitor your progress over many years is quite exciting to me, and being able to see how little tweaks or technical adjustments or different training sessions can help improve you is also one of the parts to kayaking that I really like. But otherwise, I just love being out on the water. That's the main thing, out in nature, training early morning when the sun's coming up, in the afternoon, in rain, hail, snow in Dunedin even. And then also over in Europe when it's nice and hot and sunny. So they get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, that's a really cool path that you went on. And I'm really interested to hear, at 15, you were already thinking, I want a sport that I can go far with. So you must have had a sense that this was your path in life. You really wanted sports to be at least one of your main focuses in life.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite funny. I think even earlier than that, when I was just starting school, they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember, I think I did want to do a sport or do something that I could wear a skirt, like a ballerina or netball. Not so much netball. I think tennis was what I drew a picture of, maybe. And funny enough, we do wear like a spray skirt in kayaking, so I've ended up wearing a skirt in some sense.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, but then I also have a passion for music. So I remember even thinking back at 5 or 6 years old that maybe I could be a singer, songwriter.
Wow.
And yes, the path in New Zealand for me at least was a lot more clear towards for sport as opposed to music.
Mm,
But yeah, at 15, I was looking for something. I thought I was looking for an individual sport because I thought that's what would suit me the most. But kayaking's great because you have the K1, which is individual, but then you have the team boats, the K2 and the K4. And it's such a unique team sport because other team sports like basketball, you're all like playing different roles, doing different positions. But in kayaking, while we do have like subtle differences in the roles in the boat, you're trying to be like precise and exactly the same as everyone else in the boat. You're trying to
wow.
move the same way, which is when you think about humans and we're asymmetrical and we have, different injuries that we've attained over time, it's really tricky to try and move together, move fluidly on water in a really unstable boat. So that's the cool part as well, is trying to get the teamwork.
Wow. That's amazing. So with kayaking, you can do both individual and teamwork.
Yeah, you get again, the best of both worlds.
Gosh. And do you have a favorite race out of those? The K1, the K2, and the K4?
Oh, I like them all for their different reasons. I
Mm.
think each one has its own challenges and therefore opportunities. For example, the K4, when there's four different people trying to sprint down a course and go as fast as you can, that presents its own challenges. But then when you get it going really good, that, when people talk about when it gels or it clicks, or when we could talk about it being the fifth paddler, like you can access this land, this promised land that where you're paddling, not just within your capabilities, but more than what you could do on paper. So
Yeah.
on paper, 1 + 1 = 2, but in the kayak, when you have four people, that can be like five people are paddling because you can just by the through not even just collaboration or teamwork, but there can be an energy or a motive, something that's like that you can like dig deep and hold on to, or it might be like talking about like how we're representing the country or something that gives you that extra energy. So that's a really cool aspect. And then in the K1, it's just you and your own thoughts and it's all on you. So there's obviously that autonomy, but you don't have any friends helping you out down the course.
Yeah. All of the movements and decisions are just you, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, you're responsible for all the outcomes.
Yeah. So, and I love that you describing the four people in the boat and how there's like, it's a listening, isn't it? Or a feeling. You have to feel the other people with you and
Mm.
really try and I guess get in sync and there must be so much training and practicing that goes on behind that.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of like training and like discussion, and it can all be quite explicit, but then there's a point where you want that to be all autonomous. You want to be able to just go out there, trust yourself, like almost clear your mind, and then go, I know how to do this. I know how to sync with everyone. I know exactly what I'm doing at all the points in the race, and then just be in flow state if you can.
Wow.
So that's what all the training is for, is to be able to like get to that point. And I find that like a little bit challenging sometimes because I can tend to think a lot. And
Mm,
so I've had to work over many years to, I guess, um, reduce the noise in my head and get into the space where I can like feel the water and be a bit more implicit, like um, learning through experiencing rather than through, where should I put my hand positions? Where should my blade angle be? Those explicit things. I'm moving more towards that feeling part of,
wow.
yeah, feeling learning.
That's cool. It's a good metaphor for life too, isn't it? Like we can overthink life, we can try and think about every movement and everything we're gonna do, but in the end, sometimes you just gotta let go and feel it and work with those who are around you and yeah, just
Yeah,
trust the the team's gonna produce what it's gonna produce.
yeah, that's exactly right. And I like that you can extrapolate sport out to life in
Yeah,
so many ways, and the lessons and the skills that I've learned um, from kayaking is like applicable to yeah, everyday life and the challenges that I experience. Yeah.
that's amazing. And I think that's great because otherwise it's just this one little part of your life, but it's not really. It's yeah, it informs all parts of your life, doesn't it? Whatever we're doing, if we let it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh. So I'm just thinking about, so you said the K1, the K2, and the K4. It's just one, two, and four people, right, in the boat?
Yeah, that's correct.
And are they all the same distances?
At this point, yes. So the Olympic distances are all 500 meters. They used to have 200, and the men also do the 1,000 meters, but it's our events have been reduced down a little bit over the years. So just the 500 meters.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so as I mentioned at the very beginning of this podcast, that Lucy has been to the Olympics at her young age already, which is an amazing accomplishment and privilege, I would think, to be able to represent Aotearoa New Zealand in your sport. So congratulations, first of all, for getting there.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
remember, hey?
my dad would say Olympian 1853. Oh no, I think it's 1583. I got that wrong. He knows the number better than I do.
That's so cool. I'm sure your family is very proud, but I remember watching you, like the whole Dunedin community was very proud to have you there and I yeah, watched you live doing your events. So yeah, again, just congratulations. That's really cool.
Yeah, I felt the support. I was really appreciative of it, like people messaging, or I think my old high school put together a little photo and everyone was standing out in the courts. And then, to be able to give back as well, go back and talk up at Otago Girls was cool. So, yeah, I think it's awesome to come from a smaller city and be able to represent on the world stage as well as the country. As you said,
Yeah.
there's um, we talk about in the team like building the mana of the black boat, which is, all our waka, all our kayaks are painted black.
Mm.
And so it's about something bigger than us. So that's what we try to do to the best of our abilities.
Yeah,
And so it kind of means yeah, thinking about the bigger picture.
that's cool. I love that. And I'm also thinking like, so there's certainly a glamour about being at the Olympics and especially for us watching and having one of our own out there, but I know that's only probably a very small part of the story and the journey, and there's a whole lot of hard work and mahi that goes in behind that, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. That's really only, what is it? Just like less than 2 minutes of your life on the down on the race course and thousands of hours building up to that. Like for me, it was 10 years essentially, just under 10 years since I decided that I wanted to kayak and go to the Olympics to actually getting there. So
Wow,
it's a long time when you're only 24 years old. It's a big percentage of your life.
that's huge.
Yeah, but you're right. There definitely were a lot of challenges along the way, and one that's kind of like comes along with the job essentially is just needing to peak for trials, needing to peak again for more trials, and then for the Olympics. So I knew that I was in for like a really big summer leading into the Olympics, like the New Zealand summer already, with having to trial again and again, and then also then having to come out of those trials and then start the rebuild again to the Olympics. So I know that for all of us who were in that process, it was quite taxing, but rightly so. It's the Olympic trials, so wouldn't expect anything less. And then we have a really long stint over in Europe leading up to the Olympics. So that ended up being 4 months total away from home, away from your normal support network. You can't just go to the cafe with your friends to catch up and get outside of the kayaking world. It was very much, it was in your face a lot of the time.
Mm.
And so we like definitely tried to sort of employ strategies to, to turn off, to switch off. So like going to the beach. Unfortunately, the beach is a long way away from Banyoles, Spain, so we had to drive a bit to get out to the coastline. But those normal things that I guess I took for granted in New Zealand, um, I really would have loved to have been able to do in the build up. And then you come back home and you drive along the coastline, you're like, wow, I've missed this so much. So there's a lot there. Obviously, such an honor and a privilege to be able to be training for the Olympics and training in Europe in summertime. And for 4 months, that's, people probably don't ever go on a 4 month like trip around the world. Um, so I'm very aware of what a privilege it is to be able to do that.
Mm.
Um, but then also the task demands all that hard work as well. So, and not sacrifices, but um, I guess you miss out on some things, some opportunities that you would have had if you were just sitting back in New Zealand in the wintertime.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think there must be sacrifices involved on many levels, and it doesn't mean that it's not a privilege what you're doing, but yeah, I think it's hugely sacrificial, like the choices you make to follow this dream, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in my day-to-day life, I try to make sure that there's not too many, but inadvertently, like, trying to make time for social life has definitely been challenging, and especially when you're really tired, that's the part that I guess people maybe don't appreciate as much. I'm not sure. I think it's really hard when you're in the middle of like a 4 week training block and every weekend you're just so tired that I kind of just want to lie in bed all day. And I know that I'm like, I wish I had the energy to want to go out and want to socialize and go to the beach with my friends, have a picnic, have dinner together. And I do get to do those things. I just have to plan them out in advance and then make sure I've got enough energy when the time comes around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly. And and I was just wondering, could you walk us through a little bit of that process? So you even to get to the Olympic trials, there must be a whole set of trials beforehand. So can you just briefly walk us through how you even get to that point?
Yeah. So for me personally, I I guess the 4 years out, the whole Olympic cycle before we got to Paris, I wasn't really tracking that well as like individually in terms of my numbers, and it wasn't until I made a few changes in my training environment, my program, and then coming out of 20 well, yeah, coming out of the 2023 season, I had raced at the under 23 world champs and um, had performed above my expectations. So managed to get seventh in the A final in the K2 with Julia Pedroot, and then placed 11th overall in my K1. So that was, I won the B final. Oh, 10th? No, yeah, it must be 10th or 11th. I won the B final in K1, and not just rankings, but like the times that I'd put down, I realized with those sorts of performances that I might actually have a chance. Like I've put myself in a position where I could potentially make the Olympics if the doors open. And then there was Amy Fisher and Danielle Richards had been racing overseas in the K2 at World Champs to try and qualify the K2. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify it then, but they did go to the Oceanias. So in Australia, they raced against other countries and they qualified the boat. So how that works is like with kayaking, you qualify the boat and then you qualify the people. So the boat got qualified through Danny and Amy, and then we had more trials to determine who would go in the boat.
Ah,
So there was at least there were two trials, and preceding that there was like benchmarking along the way at other regattas. So we had to make sure we were racing fast in December, and then in February, and then in March, and then I also did the trials for the K4 in March. So and I had to do the benchmarking for that as well to make sure I was up to standard. So there was a lot going on in like, especially in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But one thing that was really cool about that process, that 5 week stint where there was so many trials, there was a lot of pressure, um, was that I then could like use that as like confidence building for like further down the track. For example, just last year, I then knew that I could handle like 5 weeks of intense pressure and 5 weeks of being at peak form. So
Wow.
that was it was cool to come out of that. But yeah, a long build up. And then when you get selected, it's amazing. It's very surreal. But at the same time, like afterwards, I know I struggled. Like we had 10 days off, which is a long time in a kayaker's world. Like even 2 days off, you're like, I can't, where's the water? I can't feel it. Um, but 10 days and I still wasn't recovered from that whole process. Like 10 days of doing nothing and I was, yeah, I think like just my mind wasn't quite getting back to normal, but that's just part of it, I guess.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's just fascinating because I think we were talking before we started recording about how getting to the Olympics is so amazing. And even in New Zealand, I think you said only 2,000 people have been. Is that in total, like
I,
ever?
I think approximately, yeah, under 2000 ever.
Whoa. So, and there's a reason for it, right? Like it's intense. I mean, I think not everyone has not only the physical ability, but the mental ability to reach that point, right? Like there must be, would you say they're both equally at play, physical and mental, or what's
Ooh.
the
For different people, I think it would be different amounts, obviously, depending on how much, I guess, physical talent you might have, physical capabilities, and then any mental challenges. For me personally, the mental side plays a huge role in how much I can unlock from my physical attributes, and I'm still working on that. So, but that's been probably if I thought about what I'd take with me after sport, it would be that, like all the mental skills that I've learned and I guess have been forced to learn at times. But I wouldn't change that because the struggles that I've gone through now mean that not only am I in a better position for myself, my day-to-day life, but my future as well, and hopefully also can help other people who have similar experiences.
Yeah. Because like it's like when you're just describing that 5 weeks at peak performance, like obviously it's physical, but you have to have resilience, don't you? And strategies and um just dig deep. I can imagine to just keep going at that pace for that long. Like
Mm.
it's incredible. Like it just can't be pure physical. Obviously, some
Yeah.
physical gift and skill is a huge part of it, but it's not going to get you all the way, is it?
At that point when pretty much everyone is physically like very well trained, it does become the edge is that mental side. And like at a basic level, an example I could give would be like over that 5 week period, knowing when to switch on and when to switch off, or when how much not just on and off, but what type of mentality do I need to bring to each session, being able to discern how I need to show up. And that can apply to general life. I don't know, different meetings you might have to go into. How much energy do I need to bring to this today? What is the task requiring of me? How much of a priority is it? What does it even mean in the grand scheme of things? So I guess asking yourself or knowing the answer to those questions before you go to training is really helpful, being really clear. And then at a probably more nuanced level, would be managing the pressure, managing anxiety that comes up when you start thinking about making it or not making it. Both of those can induce quite overwhelming responses. I know for me, a couple of weeks out, I woke up one morning and I think I had to get on my knees and pray because I was like, it's too much. It's
Wow.
way too much. It was just overwhelming me. And I had to essentially kind of like let go of having such a grasp on whether or not I made it, like trying
Mhm.
to hold on to like something that I actually won't control in the end, like the decision, I guess. And then it also helped me, like when I did look at like, okay, what would my year look like if I do make it? What could my year look like if I don't? Like just having an idea. I didn't have like a necessarily a backup plan, but having some things I'm like, okay, if I don't, then in this month I can do this, I can study at uni, I can take on more papers at uni, I can make sure that I go on a nice holiday, treat myself. So that also was a little bit reassuring.
Mm.
And, but I think another part that's tricky is obviously turning up in a training environment where you're training with the girls who you're going to be competing against at trials. So I think we did a really good job of um, I guess being really respectful of each other. I have an immense amount of respect for all the girls I was trialing against. So in the end, that was Yulia and Danny, and like they were both extremely hardworking. And Danielle Richards has gone on to be, well, she already was one of the best female ocean ski paddlers in the world and surf lifesaving athletes. So I looked up to her when I was young, and then she came over to kayaking, and next thing I know, I'm racing against her for the Olympics, and it was very close in the end. So I knew when I was going in to hear the news that it was going to be kind of bittersweet either way. So managing those relationships as well is very important, and how you show up affects the team.
Yeah.
So it's not just your own mentality and whether or not you want to try and beat other people in a session that's not necessarily helpful. It's more about how you can get the most out of yourself while also helping the others do their best.
That's amazing. That's very wise, Lucy, for your young 24 years. That's really inspiring to hear about. We're actually running out of time, and I'm hoping we can get a second session with you on some of your life outside of sport, because I know, well, it's probably all consuming. You do have other parts to your life, but can you just give us a moment? Like, I know the Olympics have highs and lows, but just in a minute or two, describe to us what it was like being there. I know it must be different for everyone, but for you, like, not yeah,
Yeah.
not we don't know many people who have even been there.
Yeah. Well, if I found it in my experience, paddling out on the water was pretty normal. Like that surprised me. It felt quite normal. You paddle out on the course, there's the start boats, there's the people who call you into the start. The difference was definitely the 20,000 people cheering. That was pretty cool. I think in the middle of the race, I do remember thinking, oh my goodness, there's like 20,000 people yelling right now. This is amazing. And then even hearing across the way the slalom paddlers and everyone cheering. And then I think probably my highlight was walking into the closing ceremony and at Stade de France, and there's 80,000 people all just going wild. And I'm like, why do you guys care so much about sport? This is really cool. So walking in with the New Zealand team and with my friends. So it was also incredible to sort of share that experience with my best friend Samalulu Clifton, who raced for Samoa at the Olympics,
Wow.
kayaking. So we managed to get to the Olympics together, which was really cool. So I don't know, just
That's
the
amazing.
people, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing today about your kayaking. Stay tuned. Look for another episode with Lucy in the future on other parts of her life. But really, thanks for sharing your wisdom, your insights, and just giving us a taste of what it was like to be at the Olympics.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, ka kite ano.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.